Way back in the day, Magic Johnson was famous for his no-look pass. He would toss the ball seemingly behind him, but then one of his teammates would show up at just the right time. If you looked carefully whenever he did this, you could see his eyes get really big as he significantly increased his peripheral vision. One of the cleverest financial coups of all time was done through a purposeful projection of false body language. It happened after Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo, but before anybody knew that he lost. That is, everybody except for the Rothschilds, who had their own information system and leveraged this information in a way using only body language that still has an influence on the world today. There is a technique to become temporarily invisible, not according to cameras, but to passive observers. It requires you first learn to measure people's overall mental resonance and then create an exact opposite resonance structure. It does take quite a bit of practice, but this can be a lot of fun. There is a therapist that has a purely silent system that has a very high degree of success. Part of this, of course, is that she heavily pre-screens her clients. They must participate fully for this to work. They must be willing to get into completely following rapport. They must be willing to keep their eyes open and hold as strongly as they can this following rapport. Then she leads them into various problem states. And then through about an hour of trial and error, she calibrates the most efficient transition from the problem state to the solution state. Then she repeats this process a few dozen times, faster and faster. So next time you start to feel yourself slipping into a problem state, then your unconscious will automatically lead you into a solution state. Normally, this will happen before you even realize what is going on. Your subconscious will notice that you are slipping into what could be a problem state, but then you will automatically get back into a solution state. The invisibility exercise is not really useful for anything other than a proxy for powerful brain exercises. But successful practitioners readily admit that when you do reach the state of invisibility, it feels very much like a mental flow state. If anything, this is a very useful way to purge your mind of any lingering negativity. Once they knew the outcome, they took their places. Nathan Rothschild took his seat just before the opening of the bond market. Everybody looked at him, knowing him and his family knew the results before everybody else. Knowing this, he slumped and purposely looked very depressed. This caused a panic. The bonds immediately dropped to pennies on the dollar, and then various Rothschild agents bought all the bonds of the Bank of London. This is how the Rothschild family took over the Bank of London using only information and body language. A few times Magic did try the no-look pass, but it didn't work, indicating that he couldn't really see behind him. Only he had a strong suspicion of what was going on behind him based on the players he could see. But once a player that was unfamiliar with this strategy entered the game, this strategy fell apart.